So I recently put out a short going over some of the most common mispronunciations of Pokemon names, and that video kind of blew up. So with all the attention it got, I got a bunch of comments of people discussing the etymology of the Pokemon names that I covered in that short, which kind of got me interested in doing a longer, more in-depth video on the subject so that I could dive a little bit more into the etymology of Pokemon names myself. So I'm going to kick off this video with two pretty common Pokemon names that have been pronounced differently basically since these Pokemon have been introduced to the series. First up is Dialga, and obviously you can tell I pronounce it Dialga, which is the way it's pronounced in all official Pokemon media.
Dialga.
Come forth, Dialga. Dialga, the master of time.
However, it's very common to hear people also pronounce this as Dialga, since Dialga's name derives from the word diamond, and it is of course also the box legendary for the Pokemon Diamond game. However, some internet sleuthing, aka reading Reddit, brought me to this thread where someone claims that in Japanese they don't really have the hard I sounds in their words. So in Japanese, the Dai from Dialga would be pronounced D, giving us Dialga in Japanese, and then the English translators just decided to stick with the Japanese pronunciation. Now, I don't speak Japanese, so if this is incorrect, let me know. But as far as I know, this sounds like a reasonable and plausible explanation as to why it's Dialga and not Dialga. But also, you could argue that the dia, the first half of Dialga's name, is the Spanish and Portuguese words for day. And with Dialga being the temporal Pokemon responsible for the passage of time in the Pokemon universe, it would thematically make sense that the first half of its name is also a word that indicates the passage of time. So I'm sticking with
Dialga
as the correct pronunciation for this Pokemon's name. Now next up, very intrinsically connected to Dialga, is Arceus. Now this one has always been a doozy for Pokemon fans. So obviously I pronounce it Arceus, but it's also commonly pronounced as Arceus, and this split in pronunciation is probably even more equal among fans than Dialga's is. The arguments for Arceus as the proper pronunciation is simply the fact that every official piece of English media pronounces the name as Arceus.
by Arceus.
Arceus! Arceus! Arceus!
Pokemon Legends. Arceus.
However, we also have the Arceus system, Silvala's ability, which was made to mirror Arceus's, since Silvally is an artificially created Pokemon that was made in Arceus's image in order to destroy Ultra Beasts. Arceus's name origin may also come from the words Ark, as in the large boat used in the Catholic Bible by Noah to save a bunch of animals and humans when God flooded the earth, and the word Deus, the Latin and Portuguese word for God. Put them together and you get
Arceus!
Well, you don't actually get Arceus. If you combine those words, you get closer to an Arceus, but that's still closer to the Arceus pronunciation than it is to the Arceus pronunciation. However, also, as someone who speaks a little bit of Portuguese myself and grew up around tons of natural born Portuguese speakers, Deus in Portuguese can sometimes be said with a more E sound instead of the A sound. So for example, oh my god in Portuguese may be pronounced as meu Deus. It all just depends on the individual speaker's idiolect, which for anyone who's unaware is just the way that a specific person speaks and pronounces words in comparison to other people within their same language and regional accent. So we all have our own idiolect. It's just basically how you yourself speaks when compared to other people who speak the same language as you in the same region. However, another argument for the Arceus pronunciations actually came to me from a comment left on my short. And a lot like the Dialga information I got from Reddit, I don't know how truthful this is, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'm just going to read the comment out exactly as how they've written it. The name Arceus comes from the Arceus, an important concept in both alchemy and Hebrew mysticism, with the classic Arceus symbol being directly inspired by a Hebrew symbol for the Arceus. And though I couldn't seem to find this Hebrew symbol that the commenter was referring to, I was able to find something rather interesting from this comment. Searching up the word Arceus gives us this definition: the spirit or force which Paracelsians believe dwelt in and presided over all living things. Now, I don't know who or what the hell a Paracelsian is. As far as I could find, they seem to be some type of small group of, I don't know, alchemists or something along those lines. I don't know. This video is about Pokemon, not Paracelsians. However, going back to the definition here, you may have noticed that the pronunciation of this word is Arceus. And the definition of the word almost perfectly fits the lore of Arceus, the Pokemon god. So I think all evidence really points to the proper pronunciation of Arceus as being either Arceus or Arceus. But if that's the case, then where did people get Arceus from in the first place? Well, like Dialga, I think this is another case of English-Japanese localization shenanigans. In Japanese, it is pronounced as Arceus, but apparently they changed it to Arceus for us English speakers, since arse is an English word for ass and is commonly used in the UK. I've also just heard some people say they considered the C in Arceus to be a soft C instead of a hard C, which is something that is going to come up in this video 2 more times. So clearly soft C's and hard C's just be kicking our asses in the Pokemon community. And there's clearly no better proof of that than Suicune. Now, myself as a kid, I was never sure how the hell Suicune was pronounced. Was it Sukuni? Was it Sukune? Was it Suicune? I had no freaking idea, but I know I wasn't alone, because if you ask any Pokemon fan, they will probably always say that for the longest time, they too had no idea how the hell to pronounce this thing's name. Now, Suicune has a fairly simple and straightforward name etymology when compared to Arceus and Dialga. Basically, from Bulbapedia, Suicune may be a combination of Sui, water, Suisho, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Suisho, crystal, and Kun, monarch, which sounds completely believable. However, it's always just been hilarious to me to hear how other people thought the name was pronounced. For example, I was watching an episode of Drawfree the other week where Karina said for the longest time she called Suicune Suisui, which is probably one of the funniest and most incorrect mispronunciations I've ever heard. And that's no shade for Karina, like I just went over. Suicune is the worst offender when it comes to pronunciations. But just for some more shits and giggles, here are some other mispronunciations I've found while doing research for this video. We've got Soysoon, you know, when your soy sauce isn't coming fast enough. We got Susween, and finally we have Suisign. Suisign. I feel like I'm speaking Simlish right now. All right, y'all, so clearly you're still here with me, so you like whatever I'm putting on right now. I don't know what it is, but you like it. So you should probably consider subscribing, because wouldn't you want to see more of the thing that you like? Makes sense, right? Click the subscribe button and you'll always get more of this shit show that I put on for you. All right, now next on the list, we have a short and very simple one, Vivillon. Now, I know myself and a few other people I know growing up used to pronounce it as Vivillon, because that's literally what it looks like. And if you didn't speak any French, you probably would think that's how it's pronounced, because that's how I thought it was pronounced. But it wasn't until I watched the movie As Above, So Below, which takes place in Paris and has a character named Papillon, which is the French word for butterfly. And it's all really kind of ironic considering the fact that I'm Canadian and our second language officially is French, but I was asleep in French class for damn near 10 years, okay? The minute I could drop French, I dropped that thing hotter than a scalding rock. I don't know why I'd be holding one of those, but I wouldn't be, that's why I dropped it. All right, now back onto another controversial Pokemon, Rayquaza. And I had to say that slowly because I'm going to be honest with y'all, I still pronounce this Pokemon's name wrong. I say the dreaded Rayquaza, which I know is so wrong, but I just can't help it at this point. It's been too late. The name has been scarred into my brain and now it's Rayquaza forever for me. Even though I know the proper pronunciation is Rayquaza, with the best evidence of this being every single piece of official media from Pokemon. However, diving into the etymology of its name, again from Bulbapedia, we have Rayquaza may be derived from Raku, sky rending, a word appearing in various media and merchandise that featured Rayquaza, sorry, I'm gonna do that. The latter half may be derived from Za, seat, relating to compounds such as Seiza, constellation, and Oza, throne. It may also involve Rakia, Hebrew for firmament, and Ray or Quasar. And that all actually adds up to make a lot of sense actually. You have Reku, referencing the fact that Rayquaza lives in the sky and is the sky-high Pokemon that literally lives its entire life in the ozone layer until it has to come down to rend a certain pair of feuding Pokemons battling. Then there's Seiza, which also references the whole living in the sky aspect, but you could also imagine that if you were to look up into the night sky and see Rayquaza with its luminescent yellow markings, you may interpret those as constellations. And then finally, there's the whole Quasar, which gives it the Rayquaza part of its name, since quasars are supermassive black holes that give off huge amounts of light and energy, which are very fitting for a legendary Pokemon as powerful as Rayquaza is, both in lore and in stats. I will still, however, be saying its name completely wrong after this, because I can, and because I've never really cared for Rayquaza. Now I don't even know how to say it anymore, but I'm probably going to say it wrong going forward, regardless of what we just discovered here today. And now the final Pokemon I'll be covering today is Sceptile. Probably not a Pokemon a lot of people would have expected to see on this list, since who the hell doesn't know how to pronounce Sceptile, but crazily enough, there are people out there who have referred to this thing and may possibly still refer to this thing as a Sceptile, the great skeptical lizard. Doesn't believe in nothing. No conspiracy theories, no ghost or Bigfoot, nothing. No, but all jokes aside, clearly these hard C's and soft C's be kicking our asses in the Pokemon community. We very obviously need to all go to a literacy class together or something, because we don't know what's a hard C and what's a soft C. Now, I don't really think I need to argue that it's Sceptile and not Skeptile, but I did want to take a quick look at its name's etymology. And this time around, I think I actually disagree with Bulbapedia here, because Bulbapedia would tell you that Sceptile may get its name from either scepter or scissors and reptile combined, but I personally think that's silly because it makes a lot more sense for Sceptile's name origin to be the word scythe combined with reptile. It's like right there, you know, it's like, you know? Now this just makes so much sense to me, since looking at Sceptile, its head is almost the exact same shape as a scythe, and in the anime when it uses an attack like Leaf Blade, the leaves on its arms turn into scythe-shaped blades. It also fits thematically since Sceptile is a grass-type Pokemon, and you know what scythes do? They cut down crops and tall grass. So boom, with that one, I rest my case, Your Honor. Now that is going to do it for this one, folks, so if you're still with me, by all means, let me know down below if you've pronounced any of these Pokemon's names wrong, or some others that you may have. There's a ton of common and not so common mispronunciations in Pokemon, so there's always a possibility I do another one of these videos with some of your suggestions. And if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you didn't, drop a dislike, but let me know why you hate me. And if you really liked it, hit subscribe, and until next time, I'll catch y'all later.